What's going on out there, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Caveman Mods. Today we're going to be talking about the Chevelle and how it got to looking like this. So you guys remember last time I kind of give you a little bit of a look at the car and kind of let you hear it run a little bit, and wanted to kind of introduce you guys to it, let you see where it's at. That was when I first pretty much got the car. Dang bugs in here flying around. So I tore some things down on it and trying to get a couple things fixed on it. For instance, things like this. Like, look at this wire. You got a butt connector there, along with another butt connector right there. Whoever wired this car is an idiot. I'll let you know right now, this is not all of it. But this box right here is basically somewhat full of needless wire in this car. And this wire right here, which is butt connected also, this is maybe, I want to say, well, I'm sure it says it on here, but this is maybe like a 8 gauge. Yeah, I want to say this is about an 8 gauge wire. That wire was the only wire that was even charging the battery on this car. So the way somebody had this set up, they had a power wire coming from the battery, coming all the way up to the starter solenoid, and then going from the starter solenoid straight to the starter. And then they had that little 8 gauge wire going from the alternator all the way back to the battery to charge the battery. Yeah, that person, whoever wired this car, I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, you're an idiot. You have no business working on cars. I hope you stop what you're doing and don't ever do this stuff again. Wiring is not your forte. So that being said, I'm going to move past that for a moment. We'll get back into the wiring here in just a few minutes, but I want to kind of show you some of the things that we're doing to the car, some of the things I'm upgrading. So I was planning on toning the car down to an extent. Sorry, just got done eating dinner, and there was a couple things that I really wanted to do to the car to try to make it run a lot better, make it more of a reliable car, something that I can get out and run it daily if I'd like. You'll see the hood is sitting up here, and I got it off the car. I got the trunk open, battery, everything's all disconnected for now, and I wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff that we had gotten to try to upgrade some things on this car. So we'll start with this right here. This is Holley's Terminator EFI. Believe it or not, we're not even using that. I bought this from a guy, and it was basically the whole kit. I do have multiple wiring harnesses. This particular harness right here, if I'm not mistaken, this is an LS harness. And this harness right here is the transmission harness for a 4L60 or a 4L80E. I have another harness somewhere. Oh, my garage is a mess, guys. I apologize. I've had a bunch of stuff everywhere trying to work in a confined space. You see, I got the couches gone. I just got rid of those just over the weekend, or this past weekend, so finally got that stuff out of the way. This harness right here is for just a regular GM engine. Your older Chevy 350s, your big blocks, all that. You also see the MSD box that was originally on the car when I got it. It's the one that was up in the cowl, or the cowl up there. So yeah, took that off, done some things, and I'll show you exactly what I've done and why I got this Terminator system here. Now this system did come with this, well, I'll just leave it in there. But the system did come with that throttle body there, which is your standard 4150 throttle body, or style throttle body. The intake on this vehicle has the Dominator size throttle body, or the Dominator intake, and I didn't want to go changing the intake on it because it's the high ram intake, trick flow intake. It's pretty good, single plane, so I mean it's something that should make some serious power if you do it correctly, and that particular throttle body would have done me no justice whatsoever. Granted, I mean, you can get upwards of 700-800 horsepower, probably about 600-700 horsepower out of that throttle body. It's not a bad deal with what it is. I have the old Dominator up there that was originally in the car, or not originally, but that came on the car when I purchased it. I'm going to go ahead and get this throttle body out of here because I want to do a comparison with this throttle body next to the one that I currently have on the car now, and I'll show you. That throttle body right there is Holley's Terminator Stealth throttle body. It's not the it's not the one that they sell that has the computer on the side over there. I'll show you that side here in a minute. But this is the one that I bought with the system, the Terminator X system, and you can see the difference in the throttle bodies. This one is like a 950 CFM. That one is a 1440 CFM. That throttle body right there will, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't believe I am, that throttle body will support 1500 horsepower naturally aspirated, and will support 1200 horsepower under boost. Eventually I may boost this engine. I don't know right now because I don't know exactly what the internals look like, and I don't plan on tearing it down to figure it out. So that being said, to run this particular throttle body, you got to have a computer. So, which is going to lead me to why I bought that particular system over there. Now, this throttle body here, like I said, does not have any sort of computer. It doesn't have all the fancy stuff that you would get when you buy this system originally. Or, I don't think I'm speaking right, but they sell this system with a computer right here on the side, where all you got to do is hook up a power, a ground, and a couple other things, and it's pretty much ready to go. And I didn't want to do that because I want to have the option to add tons of things to this car, and that throttle body was what this car needed, honestly. Now, that being said, I don't know if you guys can see down in there, but that right there is why I bought that particular system over there with that throttle body. Let me close this. That right there, sorry about the camera moving around the way it is. Yeah, I got the dash tore apart. I got all this tore apart. Yeah, the wiring in here was a nightmare. Anyways, so this right here, I got it mounted to the top of the glove box, and I may move it, but once I put the cap on the dash, back up here, the dash pad, whatever, it sturdies this up just a little bit. But for now, this is where I'm going to put this. This right here is the port where I can hook up my USB and tune the computer. This right here is the power ground straight from the battery. And yeah, you'll never know that there's anything in there other than these two bolts right here that protrude down through the top of the glove box. But this right here is the USB that plugs into a laptop for tuning. That's what goes straight up to this, and that's where I got it for now. Got wires tucked in the glove box. That's up there. Oh, I guess I didn't close that all the way. Now it is. You'll notice the temp gauge that was up here is now gone. These gauges that are right here will soon be gone, and I'll be running this for the time being. This is the digital display that comes with that Terminator X system. It's just a 3.5-inch screen, nothing great, but soon enough I'll be getting rid of the tack, I was going to change the dash and go with an SS dash, and I'm still contemplating whether I want to do that or not, because if I do it, I want to go with digital decoded gauges. The dash is like $300, $400. The gauges are another $1,400, and then you got to buy a connector to hook it up to the CAN bus. That it's called a CAN bus. Let me get you turned around here. It's a wire or connector on this harness that's down here. Oh, it's over here. Well, I don't think you guys can see, but down there there's a connector. There's two of them actually that hook up to this harness, and that's where this display right here goes. It connects right into that. This is just sitting there for a moment. I don't have it mounted. So what it does is that gives you all the readings of everything that's coming out of the display, or out of the ECU. And Holley sells roughly a 12-inch dash, or a 12-inch version of this right here. And it will go, if I decide to do it, I'm going to pull the tack off, gut this instrument cluster out of here, and figure out a way to mount it in here, right there, and get rid of all that. That's going to be the only way I keep the dash. That's about $1,200 for that digital display. It's called their Pro Dash, and I kind of figure it's easier to spend $1,200 on that than versus the $1,400 for the decoded digital gauges, and then another $300-$400 for the dash and all this extra stuff. Plus, on top of it, I would still have to run this 3.5-inch display. So why not get rid of this, and just put the actual display there, and it'll clean up the interior a little bit also. That being said, I just showed you a little bit of this harness that I have down here. This is what connects into the ECU, and you got a relay down there, and this runs through the firewall. I just temporarily have it in here right now, but it runs through the firewall and then goes out here and hooks up to the throttle body. Also hooks up to, which you can see right here, these two are hooked up. I'm gonna have to take these two right here and get these figured out, but I gotta run new wires. These are the only wires that didn't come in this particular harness. This particular harness is not for this throttle body. This harness is a 2x4 throttle body harness, which is basically the throttle body that I showed you. You can put it on this harness right here, and you can run two of those throttle bodies, which will support like 1,700 horsepower. But in order to do that, I would have had to change my intake, and I don't want to go that route. So we're going to keep this intake, and we're going to run it the way it is. But so that throttle body, or the throttle body that's on here now, we'll hook up to that. I needed those two bulkhead connectors that hook up to this throttle body. One of these is a air temp sensor, if I'm not mistaken. I know one of them is a throttle position sensor. I think the other one's an air temp sensor. If it's not an air temp, then it's a map sensor, which is like a 2-bar map sensor, and you can run a little bit of boost through it, but not a whole heck of a lot. On top of that, we have a new MSD box, and you'll see that I actually took the AC out of the car. It was here, and some idiot decided to leave it in. If this was intended to be a race car, then that should have never been left in the car, and having this MSD box up here was just not going to cut it for me. You'll see that this is a much cleaner install. Let's go into the wheel well here, and you can see it has a connector right there where it just plugs right in. It's waterproof. Yeah, not the greatest place to put it because of water and everything coming off the tire, but I don't plan on driving this car in the rain. So you'll see I do have new power wires running right here. This is a ground going straight to the back. I am going to move these again. I don't like the way I did this, and I've changed my mind on how I'm doing it, so these will be moved. I've actually got some stuff I'll show you here in a minute on what I'm going to do. This is the starter solenoid down here. So what I did was ran an all new wire. This is 2-aught welding cable, and I use it a lot when I do my car audio. These are running from the battery, both positive and negative, running straight from the battery, coming up here. Negative running straight to the case on the alternator, which is going to be your absolute best ground on the vehicle, period. I'm going to run another ground from here down to the frame, and then probably another one from the frame to the engine block. And then the harness for the throttle body has to have a ground on the back of the heads, and then of course the 2-aught cable going back there. This is the wire that sends the signal to the alternator to charge, and we're going to change that out also because it's got another butt connector back here, and it's just like all these butt connectors. They're not heat shrunk or anything like that. It's garbage, and yeah, we're doing away with that stuff. Also, you can see that I'm using high quality what's it called? Dang it, it's not this cheap crap. It's not this cheap plastic crap, but yeah, it's high quality cover for the wires. And then of course I got my fuel line for the throttle body that goes on there. That's Earl's. Just about everything I've got is from Holley. Of course, the MSD, I got it at O'Reilly's or somewhere, I ain't 100% sure. Anyways, in this MSD box, you pop this cover off right here, and you can set where you want your rev limiter to be at. And on this particular one, we got it set at 8,000, which is actually where they had the last one at, so I just figured, what the heck, we'll leave it there. I also changed the radiator cap. This one I actually got, it's upside down. This one I got from my Uncle Tommy. It was my Uncle Donnie's. He used to build hot rods back in the day. He built a lot of Studebakers and things of that nature. There's a couple other cars, Corvettes and Camaros and Bel Air, stuff like that. He just built hot rods all the time, so that's pretty much what he did for a living while he wasn't driving a dump truck. So yeah, that was his, and that's going to stay on this car because I'm keeping this car. Got a couple other parts from him too, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So these are the wires that are coming from the back, or from up there by the front of the car. Yeah, this one's still a little bit long. I'm going to cut this down, and this is where I got the battery mounted. I remounted the battery in a better way than the way they had it. And these two right here are the power wire for the Holley. They hook straight up there, and these two are the only wires that are going to be coming from this right here. The way they had it set up at first, there was probably 20 plus wires running back through up under the seat and coming back, and they were all spliced off the back of this, and it was just a mess. So yeah, we're not going to be doing that. So I'll show you how we're going to fix that problem here in just 1 second. Get around over here. And again, my garage is a mess. I'm living in a confined space, so it is what it is. I'm working with what I got, and I don't need this harness, so it can go back in the box over here. So yeah, just wanted to show you guys what this harness looks like. Eventually I will upgrade the transmission. Right now we got Power Glide transmission, 2-speed Power Glide, and it's good for racing, but I don't want to just race this car. I want to be able to cruise it and enjoy time with my family and go to car shows, things like that. So it's not going to be a strict race car, although it will have the power of a race car. So the Dominator ECU, that is the top of the line ECU from Holley. That particular throttle body is the top of the line throttle body from Holley. To feed the fuel to that particular beast, we got this puppy right here. I will show you this. This is the fuel pump. This is a 200 gallon per hour fuel pump. This fuel pump can be run in unison with one another. Both of them side by side at 100% will run 200 gallons per hour. You can run one of these pumps and have it set up with that particular throttle body, or not the throttle body, but with the with the Dominator ECU that I have. I can set this up to where it'll run one of these pumps. This is a twin brushless pump, and it'll run one pump, and I can run that one pump at 50%, run it off the throttle position sensor to where when I get to maybe 50% throttle, the other pump will kick in at 50%. And then when I get to 75% throttle, both pumps will turn on to 100%, or however I want to configure it. I have that option with that particular ECU, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get that. Granted, it takes a substantial amount of fuel line and very expensive fuel line to hook this up. I don't have it right this second. It'll be here in the morning, and I'll finish this video up then when I get it. But in this box down here is a 15-gallon fuel cell with dash 10 AN fittings on it. And let's see here. I've got my fuel pumps, or not my fuel pumps, I'm sorry. My fuel filters right here. I got 2 of them right at the moment. This one is the 10 micron fuel filter. It is substantially large. It has dash 12 AN fittings, which we'll just break them down to dash 10. Be fine. The throttle body actually runs off dash 8. The fuel pump runs off dash 10. The regulator that I'm supposed to have gotten with the fuel pump that I do not have right now. Don't know why Holley hasn't sent it, so I'll be contacting them to find out why. It has dash 12, or no, I'm sorry. The regulator has dash 10 inlets, outlets. You got to run a return back to the tank, all this stuff. So yeah, we got all that except for the regulator. But then I got a ton of fittings here, another bunch of fittings here. And then when I get the line, or the fuel line, which is a Holley line, it's a brand. I may be pronouncing it incorrectly, but it is what it is. So yeah, when we get that, I have all the rest of the AN fittings that I'm supposed to have to continue this. These are the actual crimp tools that I need to populate the harnesses on this particular ECU, or the engine harness, to where I can hook up the throttle position sensor and the air temp or map sensor, whatever it is. But yeah, they got 2 different sizes. So this one's the small size. They do sell 3 different sizes. This is the medium size. And if you guys would like a link in the description down below, I may be able to try to do that. I haven't done that yet, so just let me know if that's something you guys want to see, where to get this stuff at. I mean, I'm sure you guys know you can get it on Holley.com and purchase any of this stuff. But then we got these right here. These 2 things right here are a positive and a negative bulkhead connector. And what they do is, here, I'll open one of them up for you. So the way I ran that power line, that 2-aught welding cable, right at the moment I got it running under the car, and it's right next to the current fuel line, and I don't like that. It's retarded to have fuel line and power line running side by side, and it's just temporarily up under there right at the moment. So I'm going to pull all that back out, and we're going to run this through the firewall and keep all the power wires inside and keep the fuel on the outside where it should be. So these connectors here will go through the firewall, drill this hole out in the firewall, obviously, and then you got your little nut right here that tightens it up on the firewall, and then you can put your connectors on both sides, which acts as a bulkhead. So I can run all of my main powers off of this particular bulkhead, whatever you want to call it, and then run another set off of the inside. Of course, this one, when it goes through the firewall, this will go up and feed the solenoid from here, and then the alternator and whatnot. And then from back here, we'll run straight back to the battery. But I'll also run like my power and all my accessories, everything like that I'm going to have inside the car will run off this side of it. And same with the negative, it's going to run through the firewall into the back. And that's how we're going to run the power in this car. That's the correct way to do it, and I don't believe there's any other way that would be good enough for me, because I believe in overdoing everything and doing it right the first time, because I don't want to go back and do something a second time, or a third, or a fourth. So, that being said here, didn't really want to get into showing you guys the fuel cell that's going in the car, but I guess I could. And then I think we got some other stuff up here I could show you. Let me see here. So we'll get this open with, which I had it open and I was contemplating sending it back because my daughter put some rocks on there. She thought they were, she was playing with them, said they're gold and silver, and yeah, you know, that's cool. Anyways, this is the fuel cell. Has dash 10 fittings right here. Pretty large. This is a sump at the bottom of the fuel cell. Has two AN fittings on top, these two in the back. Use one of the ones on the top for the drain, or the return, and then use the other one on the top, which I'll have to pull it out, and I'm not doing all that right now, but the other one on the top you'll run for the vent, and we'll run the vent an extra line. They come with extra fuel line and stuff somewhere. I think it's on the bottom side, or on the box is upside down. It's on the top side. But yeah, so there's dash 10 fuel line in here as well. I've got better fuel line coming, but I'll use that particular fuel line for the breather, so it can vent into the atmosphere and not get vapor locked. Yeah, we'll run that fuel line back up to the front of the car and vent it here under the hood. And then another thing we're probably going to end up doing away with is I'm going to swap these headers and put better headers on, because they're actually crushed on the bottom because this car sat so low. So we're going to take these off and probably end up running a catch can, maybe one on each side, and run AN lines out of out of the valve covers over to the catch cans on both sides. You know, guys, this is pretty much going to be a race car, and if these guys already started to build a race car, I'm just going to keep with the flow and continually do it the right way. So this whole bag is a bunch of connectors, grommets, stuff like that, things I need to do the job correctly. And then I told you we did away with that thermostat that's in there, or the temp gauge in there. So this is the temp gauge that's currently still hooked up, but we're taking it out and we're going with this electronic temp gauge. So yeah, I started to put it in, and this thread on this side is not the correct, it's not the same thread as this. I thought it was, it's not. So for now, that part of it's on hold. And that's pretty much where we're at the moment with the car and what I've been doing with it. There's quite a bit of other things that I want to finish it up on it. Once I get all this done and get it running right, we're gonna swap the wheels out, put better wheels, and do a coilover suspension on it, but that's later. So when I got the car, the guys that I bought it from, they told me that the engine needed a little bit of work. They was unsure of what's going on with it. The top end was making some chattering, and I will say that nobody looked at this car to figure out where that chattering was coming from. And the reason I know that is because I took this valve cover off right here on this side, and the intake valve on this side, the rocker arm, was just laying right down here in the bottom of the valley. So got it put back on, and this was actually before I showed you guys the car for the first time. Put it back on and adjusted that valve. It was running, still had a lot of valve chatter in it, so I went through and did every valve, readjusted every single valve with the intake open, exhaust closed method, and it seemed to fix it right up. Now, part of the reason why I'm going with this whole throttle body setup and the computer and all this is, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have zero experience when it comes to tuning a carburetor, trying to get it to work right. I don't have time for all that, and I don't have the patience for that, to be honest with you. So this system right here will make this car as fuel efficient as it possibly could be, but also at the same time have it set up to where when I want to step on the throttle and go, it'll do just that. This thing will have more CFM coming through that throttle body than these particular heads can handle. I will say that this engine is probably at about 650 horsepower, and that's just a guesstimation. I have not had this thing on a dyno. I do not know, so I'm just guessing. Once I get done with it and doing what I'm doing, we'll probably be closer to about 750. And I'll tell you, these heads right here on this, they're iron heads. We're eventually going to do away with them, and I'm going to go with a set of airflow research heads. And I don't know which set yet, so don't quote me on any of those. But these heads right here are off of a 63 Stingray, if I ain't mistaken, 63 Stingray. And these heads are a very expensive, rare set of heads that are on this car. It's like a $3,000 set of heads on here. And the more I dig into this, the more I find really good parts. It's just that somebody had kind of executed it in a way that looks to me like the last bit of the project was rushed. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe, and I could be wrong, but I think maybe somebody was building this car and maybe ended up passing away or got into a divorce or something, and the wife just had somebody that was somewhat of a mechanic just finish the car so she could get rid of it, or he just quit and sold it so she didn't get all the money. I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point, but when you do a car, you do it in stages. Painting is one of the last stages, and wiring is one of the last stages. And the wiring was rushed, and they did a piss poor job. So I'm redoing all the wiring, at least the most part of it. Of course, I'm not touching the headlights, taillights, all that stuff works. We're not going to fool with that, but we're going to mess with the wiring that goes to the engine and gets everything running. This is the, I don't know what that one is. This one right here is for the coolant temp sensor, and this one goes over to the fuel, because that regulator that I have has to have a sensor knowing what fuel pressure it has coming out of it. So yeah, the wiring will be redone. We're going to do a whole lot more stuff to this car. This is just the beginning. This is the sensor for that plug I was just showing you. And yeah, this is going to hook up, let us know how much fuel pressure we're running, and tell the computer, tune it back, tune it up, whatever. And just in case I want to get really, really crazy, this right here is a dual feed for the top of that fuel pump, which right now it's just a single feed. You see, yeah, so it goes in here, comes out on the other side. So it's just got one single -10 AN line that goes in it, which honestly I believe that's all I need. But if it's not and I want to step it up, I got the dual feed. So just in case I want to really get stupid, but if I do that, then I need to buy another filter. And if you guys know anything about Holley products, they are not cheap, and they are most definitely not the cheapest, especially when you buy their top of the line products. It's outrageous. Anyways, so one of the main reasons that I bought this particular set right here, it does not come with that computer that I showed you. This set right here comes with a different ECU. It has a small, it's about half the size of that particular ECU I got, and that's the ECU I wanted, because like I said, you can control your transmission, you can control multiple different things. I mean, I can do anything I want with that computer. That computer right there will probably power the NASA space shuttle, and it's pretty serious. So that right there is going to be the best thing that I've done for this car. Honestly, I don't think that I could do any better than that when it comes to trying to wire up an ECU, or I mean hook up an ECU. That's the best that's on the market that I know of. That's what all your drag racers, everybody uses. That's just the top of the line. It's the best of the best, and that's what we're going to try to stick with. I'm not going to half step anything on here. So That being said, I still got quite a bit of wiring to do under the hood here. Probably not going to fool with a lot of it tonight. It is dark outside. We're getting close to midnight, and I actually just got home from work and just unboxed a bunch of these packages I got over here. So I started on some of this. Of course, obviously the throttle body's in place, and the biggest thing with all this is I'm going to go through and mount everything where it needs to be before I truly wire up that harness that comes with that ECU, and try to get all the main stuff done to where I can slowly get the thing ready to fire up. I'm not a computer whiz either, but it's a self-learning ECU. So once I get this all hooked up and put the parameters in the computer that match up with the cam and what throttle body I'm using, all that, it has programs that you download, and it's a base tune to where this thing will run, drive, and operate correctly, and it will self-learn. And then when you want to get into it to where you actually start using the features or utilizing the features of it, you have that ability. I can hook up to a laptop and change my fuel tables. I can change my throttle position. I can change all kinds of stuff, man. It's phenomenal, the things that I can do with that particular ECU. So that's why we went with it. The throttle body, mainly because the other one didn't fit my intake. If that one fit the intake, I would have ran with that one, honestly. But this one fits, so that's the one I have to go with. Like I said, I got to do a little bit of customizing on the harness. Nothing serious, to be honest with you. This right here, this part of the harness right here, it's bare. It's inputs and outputs. So all I got to do is run from right here straight over to those plugs and buy the actual plugs. You can buy the kits from Holley where you can build all these plugs. You know, each and every plug on this harness, this goes over to the MSD box, but each and every plug on this harness can be built. They show you how-to videos on how to take it apart, put it together, and it's an endless amount of things I can do with this. So these wires right here, this is the power. It's the power. This one, the ground. This is what runs the fuel pump. This one I do not recall right at the moment what this is. They say this is for the tach actually, but I'm not supposed to use this wire for the tach. This is the wire I have to use for the tach because I'm using that MSD box over there. If I wasn't using that box hooking straight up to the distributor right there, I think that's the one I would end up having to use. I'm not sure. And then that leaves me with this yellow wire right here, which, if I ain't mistaken, this one runs the fans. Should. That wire's yellow. That's the power wire. Yeah, that's the stuff they did on this car. You got a butt connector inside of a push connector. Yeah, that's a butt connector in there. Yeah, that's the stuff I got to deal with. I don't know why, but it seems like every vehicle that I buy that's going to be a project turns out to be a wiring nightmare. People stop wiring stuff if you don't know what you're doing. That's how cars catch on fire. This thing right here, I'm surprised it even ran, to be 100% honest with you. Yeah, I was just grabbing wires in there and trying to trace stuff down and figure out what went where, and next thing I knew, wires started shorting out, and yeah, they lit a couple of them up, burnt the heck out of my hand. So I went ahead and disconnected the battery, just yanked all that stuff out, and I'm just going to do it all from scratch. So that's where we're at on the car. That's what we're planning on doing. I may tinker with it a little bit this weekend, try to get some stuff done on it, but as of right now, it's late, just got off work. I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to go here, get a shower, and I'll holler at you guys in the morning. I may do another video, show you guys some of the work and progress I'm doing with this. Oh, by the way, I made that cutout, that aluminum diamond plate over there to cover that. I didn't touch base on that, but yeah, once I cut that air box, or took the air box out, I didn't cut it out. Had to flush the firewall out because it has some when the air box comes through, it has like a curve where the stuff on the outside bolted to. Yeah, ground all that down, made it flat, got that on so I can mount everything there and make it look a lot better. It's much prettier in my opinion than what it was. Granted, it's hard to really tell right now because I got all this stuff sitting everywhere, but once I get this all cleaned up and get the wiring and everything tucked away where it should be, you'll never see any of this wiring. You'll never know that this thing has an ECU on it. It's going to look and act just like a factory car, or not factory, but just like it's a built car, and nobody will know that it's fuel injected until I say something. Also, on this particular throttle body, the 4150 style throttle body that's in there has 4 80-pound fuel injectors. This particular throttle body has 8 100-pound fuel injectors. So yeah, that sucker will flow some fuel. The throttle body, or the Dominator that was on here, was terrible. The tuning was bad. It was way out. Somebody didn't know what they were doing when they tuned it, and I'll touch base on that maybe a little bit later. But yeah, it's supposed to be on all 4 corners. You have 4 idle air adjustment screws, and they're supposed to be pretty much identical. And yeah, they were like 2 or 3 turns away from each and every one of them. One of them was turned all the way in. And at bare minimum, your base tune on that is supposed to be 1.5 turns out, and yeah, it was screwed all the way in. So I don't even know how the car ran. It ran like crap. It smoked real bad, and yeah, it was just burning the hell out of fuel. It was burning real rich. So before I really even fire this up, I'm gonna change the plugs, everything out in it, and do a couple other things. But yeah, so that's gonna be a wrap for tonight's video, guys. Sorry it was a bunch of rambling. Try to show you what my progress has been on this car. I ain't made any videos. This is only my 2nd video of it, so maybe I'll try to film some stuff tomorrow, get my batteries charged on the GoPro, and see what we can come up with. Also, if the weather's permitting tomorrow, I'm actually probably going to go to work on the big truck and make a video about it too. So the white one, not the red one, or not the burgundy one. Although I do got to change shocks on that this weekend. So we'll get to that later on, guys. I'm going to go wash my butt and call it a night. You guys have a good one. Thank you for watching. God bless you. I will see you on the next one. Oh, if I can get this turned off.